Everyone. Thank you for joining us. The Eastham Conservation Commission will hold a remote public meeting on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, MGL Chapter 30A, Sections 18 to 25, Open Meeting Law, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 155 of the Code of the Town of Eastham, Eastham Wetlands Protection Bylaw. And the meeting will be broadcast on local Channel 8 and accessible at the Town of Eastham website. In order to consider the following, and before we begin, I will take attendance. Mike?
Here.
Chuck?
Here.
Joanne?
Here.
And I am here, and it is my understanding that both Karen and Greg are not able to attend tonight, so we have 4 people of our commission to consider the following. For public comment under administrative matters, we have a plan change request filed by Michael and Christine Santoro for SC 19-1875. The applicant proposes to extend their patio beyond the footprint by approximately 100 feet by 100 feet at property located at 85 Sparrow Road, map 4, parcel 199. Is there?
Madam Chair? Yes,
Yes,
Madam
I
Chair.
thought I saw Mr. Santoro.
Madam Chair, this is Dave Bennett. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to correct you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. I'm Dave Bennett. I'm representing Nauset Landscapes with my son Michael, and the owners, Michael and Christine Santoro, are also on. A correction, this is a 100 square foot, approximately 10 by 10 addition to a patio rather than 100 by 100.
Oh. Well, can I
So if
make
I
all
may-
the mistakes at the beginning?
Well, if I may, I wanted to make sure that you all had the plan, and thanks to Mick.
Yes, well,
for the
thank you so
staking
much
this
for
morning
correcting
and
that.
meeting with you.
Yes, it is a 10-foot by 10-foot addition that's being requested, 100 square feet total.
So
Now, are you
during-
going to speak to it, Mr. Bennett or Mr. Santoro?
I'm happy to speak to it, but sure, Mick can speak if he'd like. We had met with the owners and during the course of our work, and they wanted to have a bump out adjacent to the existing stairway that falls outside the footprint of the above deck. And this would match the existing materials, which would be pervious and drain, that would extend beyond the footprint of the deck in this 100 square foot area.
Thank you. I know Alex was out there this morning.
Yes.
And you had some comments, Alex?
Yes, I made it out to the site visit this morning and then spoke with the property owner. The proposed extension or bump out was staked out as depicted on the plan. I understand that the bump out is for a hot tub. And after talking with the property owner, this hot tub won't involve any additional ground disturbance. It's gonna be plugged in from what I understand.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And as far as the materials go, For the patio extension, I think as Mr. Bennett mentioned, it would be built using permeable materials, as the commission has permitted with similar structures.
And did you discuss possible mitigation with them?
Thank you. Yes, so I did discuss that with the property owner. You know, since this is an additional 100-foot square footage, you know, we would recommend a condition that there's an additional 100 square feet of mitigation that should be proposed elsewhere on the property, and the property owner agreed that that would be doable.
Yes.
Do we need a plan for that, Alex?
Plan for the additional mitigation.
Yes.
Um,
Or would it be enough if they discuss it with you?
I think, you know, at this scale, that could be something that I could discuss with the property owner and make note of that in the file. So that when it comes time for the certificate of compliance, that, you know, it is evident that the commission approved the additional mitigation.
Yes, Mr. Bennett?
Just for the benefit of the board, this has already been approved and there was substantially more than 2-to-1 mitigation, but the applicants, the owners, don't mind doing additional planting. We had removed a large area of invasive plants, and we are replanting that. We are replanting and reconstructing a dune at the front of the property at the seawall, but it's not a problem. We do have a very detailed plan, and we can certainly add to that just by expanding upon the additional plantings that are already outlined in the planting plan that was part of the original package.
Sounds good to me. You're in agreement, and Mr. Santoro and
Yes.
Alex. So does anyone else want to comment about this? Any of the commissioners? Or are there any abutters or other people who would like? Oh, Joanne, yes.
Thanks, Janet. And forgive me if we've already discussed this previously. The addition of the patio with the hot tub. Have we already talked about the hot tub in the past? And I just had a question about the water exchange for the hot tub. It probably would be helpful for Alex to at least know what model it is, and I just want to make sure, however the water is exchanged or drained from the hot tub, that sometimes if it's treated with chemicals, it doesn't go into the groundwater. So maybe just to have those details on record. Otherwise, I have no questions or concerns. Thank you.
Those are
Yep.
good questions.
Yep, we can easily comply with that.
Is that all right, Joanne?
Fine with me, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? So would someone like to propose a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the plans.
Second? Chuck, second?
Yeah.
All right, Mike,
Yes.
Chuck, Joanne,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank
Have a
you
good evening.
both for being here tonight. All right, next is an administrative review filed by Mary and Richard Grant. The applicant proposes to cut back bayberry bushes to shoulder height and thin out lower branches of 5 trees to restore a vista view at property located at 435 Herringbrook Road, map 14, parcel 3A. And I see that Mary and Richard Grant are here tonight, and Alex and I were out at the site this morning. So did you have something you'd like to say? Either Mary or Richard or both?
We just are here to answer any questions. I think we had a good discussion when you came out.
All right. And Alex, we had talked about selectively and carefully pruning the trees in question. The limbs that they would like cut are too high up to climb up the tree and wrap a marker around, but we understood which trees they wanted to trim, and it's very minor trimming. Also, the bayberries would be trimmed to or pruned to shoulder height in an undulating fashion.
Yes.
Alex, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I think you covered that well, Janet. It would be selective pruning of several branches that are reaching into the view shed, and selective pruning of bayberry landward of the salt marsh, and the bayberry would be trimmed in an undulating fashion, as Janet mentioned. And I believe the homeowners do have a tree service in mind who has previously done work on the property. So it'd be a professional doing this work.
And I remember you commenting this morning that bayberries are happy, relatively happy to be trimmed, and they come back quite well.
Yeah, respond
Yes.
well to pruning, they do.
Yes, yeah, bayberry particularly responds well to pruning. So I don't anticipate the pruning being detrimental to the growth of the bayberry going forward.
All right. Do any of the other commissioners have any comments about this? Does anyone else in the audience have a question or a comment? All right, then I would welcome a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the trimming as shown in the plans.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Joanne. Oh, Alex, you had a question?
Yeah, I'll just read off the special conditions that we include for tree pruning and removal, just for the applicants, FYI, and these will be included with your permit when it's issued.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that these conditions are given to the contractor that are performing the work. We want qualified contractors to complete the work. The Conservation Department should receive 24 hours notice before work starts. We do have a time of year restriction for pruning and tree removal, but we are outside of that time restriction currently. I'll outline the scope of work that was approved, and we're not proposing or conditioning any mitigation plantings for this work. So that'll be included with your administrative review.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Could I have a motion then to approve the administrative review filed by Mary and Richard Grant at 435 Herringbrook Road with the conditions that Alex stated?
Move that we approve.
Thank you, Chuck. Second?
Second,
Thank you, Mike. Chuck?
Yes.
Mike?
yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So your request has been approved, and we trust you will go forward to maintain it as well as it has been maintained for the years you've been there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward
Thank
to it.
you.
Mute
An
myself.
administrative review filed by the Eastham Conservation Foundation. The applicant proposes to install an osprey pole at property located at 00 Governor Prince Road End, map 16, parcel 12. And I see that Henry Lind is here to represent the Eastham Conservation Foundation. Go ahead, Henry.
Evening, and thank you for reviewing this application. We are continuing with a project that started 3 years ago, and this is Osprey platform number 4. We are gratified that the others have had at least some interest. With 3 of them, 2 of them have been occupied almost as soon as the birds arrive for their annual migration back. Third one is way up in northeast Ham, almost into Wellfleet, and for whatever reason, a pair came last spring and they examined it and they decided against settling down in that particular area. That's up in North Sunken Meadow. This particular installation is actually going to be on a parcel that is owned by the Nature Conservancy. It is despite the way the assessors document it at the end of Dire Prince Road, or Governor Prince Road rather, it's way out by what's called Cartway South. And did you guys find it okay this morning, Alex?
Yes, we did find it. All the twists and turns and your excellent directions.
They are, the selection of the site is largely determined by ease of access for our volunteer group. Where, as you could see from the photograph of the one that we put in last year and the other ones that we've had, the pole is not pressure treated. It is a locust tree, and typically 12 to 15, 18 feet long, fairly heavy, and we're all volunteers, and so we don't want to do too much mucking across the marsh. A small hole is dug, a little bit bigger than the size of the tree itself. And then a set of 3 different pieces of 2x6 are driven in around the base in order to secure it. The one that we put in last year was early in December. The wind kicked up to over 55 knots within a week. And it doesn't look real straight because it's a tree, but it held on through the wind, and the birds loved it. And I couldn't tell you whether they fledged any young or not, but they were definitely busy through the summer. So there's minimal impact to the marsh. It is a little bit of foot traffic back and forth getting the pole installed, but beyond that, it's pretty much invisible after that.
Well, it was certainly very windy out. Located the stake. We didn't stay too long.
No, at least there wasn't any sand blowing in your face, so that's good.
Well, that's correct. There was not. So that was a good thing. Did you have any other comments, Henry?
No. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Alex, did you have any comments?
I'll just, I'll read through the conditions that would be attached to the AR. These are the same conditions that we issued with your previous AR. I believe that was last winter for the other osprey pole. We'd want all contractors to be aware of these conditions. We've got a regulation on PT lumber, which you're aware of, a 48-hour work notice, no mechanized equipment, and then removal of any construction debris in a timely manner. And I'd certainly be willing to give a hand with this osprey pole as well, Henry, come time to install it. So just keep me posted on that.
That would be
Gee,
terrific.
that
Thank you
means
very much.
You have someone under 70 to help with it.
Question.
Chuck, you had a question?
Yeah, Henry, do you have other sites staked out? Well,
Yes, we do. The one from last year was directly to the east of First Encounter Beach parking lot.
Right.
So if you drive into the parking lot and look to your left, you'll see that one.
Right.
The others are a little bit more obscure. They're not really visible from any of the typical roadside areas. And one is directly across the Great Marsh from the one at First Encounter Beach. And it's kind of tucked in below the bank across from where Herring Pond, the Herring Run comes out. The fourth one is up in Northeastham off of Ben's Way. And that's on a parcel that is ECF property around the corner from the residence that is right at the end of Ben's Way.
Well, the reason I'm asking is there's a stake out in the Marsh on Woodland Drive.
I'm sorry, I could not hear you.
Huh? Say again?
I couldn't hear what you were saying. Your microphone broke up.
Okay. As I understand it, the location we're talking about tonight is on the west side of the mixture property, kind of facing the channel coming out of the marsh, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Well, I'm on the east side of the mixture property on Widgeon Drive. And when I look out my back window, I see a wooden stake with a white tape flying on it. So I thought maybe that was you.
That is it. Oh, wait a minute. Not on Widgeon. No, there's a second stake with a flag. We were debating which of the two locations we should put them in because we only have funding for one Osprey platform this year. So hold that thought because we'll be back next year and probably put one out there.
Well, I'm fine with it. I just wanted to make sure it was your stake.
Yes, it is.
Think there... Okay. All right. Thanks.
Do the other commissioners have any comments or questions? Does anyone else?
Everybody's welcome to join. We'll let you know when we're going to put it up if anybody wants to lug the materials out there.
Do we have a welcoming party for the new Ospreys?
We take pictures. How's that?
Ah. All right, so there are no more questions or comments? All right, would someone like to propose a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Chuck seconded. Mike?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. It's been approved, Henry.
Wonderful.
And may the
Thank you very
Osprey
much.
come.
Bring them on.
Thank you for continuing to do this.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Have a lovely evening.
You too.
Next is an administrative review filed by Joe Estrada. Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
That's correct.
The applicant proposes to remove 2 trees at property located at 45 Mallard Lane, map 13, parcel 99. So are you going to speak for yourself tonight?
Well, I'm here in case you have any questions. I was hoping you got a chance to get out to the property and take a look at the trees.
We did. Alex and I were out there this morning.
Great.
And we did see that there is infestation. It doesn't appear to be terribly advanced, but you're trying to take the trees down before it spreads?
Before it spreads and the trees before they end up on the side of the house, because the way they're leaning is right towards the house. If you notice, they're both leaning towards the west. The close tree, Jeff Richardson of Tree Works has guaranteed me will end up on the top of the house if it falls. The far tree he believes will at least take the deck, if not hit the house. So I'm just trying to be proactive before the next nor'easter, if we ever get any more rain, and it comes down. So.
Alex, did you have any comments?
Um, uh, no real additional comments. Janet and I were discussing whether or not to recommend conditioning any mitigation plantings.
Sure.
I can still be swayed either way. I mean, these trees are infested with the turpentine beetle. I understand why they need to come out. So I suppose I don't really have strong feelings on the mitigation one way or the other. I'd be curious what the commission thinks.
I would like some mitigation, and if the turpentine beetle infects the pine trees, it might be a good idea to have a different kind of a tree as mitigation. Some kind of an oak or a red maple. Does anyone have a thought about that? Joanne?
Yes, thanks, Janet. I completely agree with you. Looking at the photos, it looks like this is kind of a moderately covered lot, and so some mitigation, at least 1-to-1, would be something I would support. And I agree. And I always like cherry trees, but that's just my particular preference. So I'm not going to try to thump the stump for any particular but I do like some cherry trees.
I haven't heard anyone stand up for cherry trees, so maybe that's a good thing. Do we have some native cherry trees?
I think so. We've seen them in mitigation plans before, so I think
Okay.
I'm speaking appropriately.
Alex, can you give us some input in that?
Yes, I mean the native cherry. There's the black cherry, which is native to the area, and as Joanne mentioned, that has been proposed on mitigation plans in the past.
That sounds appealing to me.
Oak cherry, black cherry.
Because you haven't had one blow over on your house yet.
No, have you?
Yes,
You don't have any trees around your house.
we got lots of trees around the house, including the
Not
cherry that blew
close
over.
to it. Really?
Yep.
I didn't want to cause any dissent amongst the commissioners, but
That's all right.
Well, is there another
Just
hardwood?
saying.
Joe, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, another hardwood maybe. I mean, I don't know anything about the cherry trees, but like you say, an oak or a maple. I know we have some oaks on the borders that are surviving. Luckily, they haven't been hit by the pine trees yet, thankfully. But a maple would be nice, I guess. Something with some nice color. I don't know how big a cherry gets and how it does in the sandy soil, or any tree, to tell you the truth, how anything will do up here. But I'm not educated enough to know what kind of tree is more suited, for that.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of
a little hill that you have coming up.
yeah,
from
it's a
the
little
pond.
hill, and we have a little drainage issues, and get a nor'easter with the wind, and
Yeah.
so it'll have to be something with a nice big root base. So I'm not sure how big a root base a cherry has versus an oak or a maple or something, but
Well, a choke cherry is small. A choke cherry gets about 20 feet, and it's a cherry. Feeds the birds. But I'm not pushing for choke cherries. I mean, that is an available cherry. I don't care. Oaks, cherry, maple, whatever.
Oaks will
They
grow
all
a little.
sound good to me. Alex, you have your hand up.
And it seems like the oaks on the property are doing well. So perhaps given that observation, placing these two pine trees with two oaks would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Oh, we were trying to get something with berries, Alex.
Perhaps we
acorns.
can leave it up to the owner to just make sure it's indigenous to the area.
okay.
Two native
Well,
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. And yeah, maybe we'll put a cherry up in the front yard there as we change all that out from a lawn to put one up in the corner there. That'd be a nice thing to have up there.
Chuck, did you have another comment?
No, nothing particular. The cherries that we have, the black cherries, grow about 40 feet high. They're really pretty when the flowers come out. And the one that fell over, is laying flat on its side with half of the trunk split apart at the base, and it's still fully leafed out, laying down
Oh, wow.
flat. They're pretty persistent trees.
All right,
That-
maybe
that
I'll look
is
into a
the-
black cherry. That sounds pretty good.
That is the beauty of the cherries. They hang on for dear life for quite some time.
40-foot weed.
Do you think there's been enough cheering to support a cherry? But I think what
Well,
Alex said works. We'll go with what you decide.
Okay, thank you very much.
But it will be, you're taking down two very rather tall trees, so
Yeah.
you'd like to have two trees put in as mitigation.
Okay.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, so Alex, you have a question?
Yeah, I'll just read through our conditions for the AR, just for the record and for the applicant. We'd want all contractors to be aware of these conditions. We'd want qualified contractors to perform the work. We'd like a work notice to the Conservation Department 24 hours before work starts. As I mentioned before, we have a time of year restriction, but we are currently outside of that. The scope of work will be the 2 pitch pines that were discussed at tonight's meeting, and then mitigation plantings will be two native trees of the property owner's choosing.
All right, with those conditions, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to
Thank you.
approve.
And
Second.
Chuck or Joanne?
Second,
All right. Mike,
Yes,
Joanne,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So the motion's been approved. Good luck. And there are some conditions about taking down the trees, and I think as Alex said earlier, right now, you're in that time frame where it's permissible to take them down. But if you have any questions, you can talk with Alex about it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Jeff Richardson is our guy from Tree Works. He knows all the Eastham stipulations as well.
Oh.
So yeah, I use him all the time because he knows what he's
Yeah.
doing.
And not only does he know them, but he adheres to them.
Yes, he does.
That's good. That's a big relief.
It is. That's why we stick with them.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you
for
very
being
much. You
here
all have a good
tonight.
night. Bye-bye.
Okay. Next, we have a public hearing, a continuation of notice of intent filed by Lizette Edrith. The applicant proposes to remove a shed, install a new shed, replace a stone patio, brick walkway, existing cement driveway, construct split rail fence, and outdoor shower, remove 5 trees, prune trees, bushes, and shrubs, and plant native vegetation and grass at property located at 490 South Sunken Meadow Road, Map 1, Parcel 90.
Yes, hello. This is Ben Fairbank from Fairbank Ecological Design, representing Lizette Pedre and Michael Gins. I just before I begin, I just wanted to make one quick clarification for the record. What was on the agenda in regards to removing 5 trees. We do not have that proposed for our submission, but I wonder if that was added because we had permission from an AR back in March, I believe, to remove 4 trees. I presume this was included to just kind of bookmark that in that hearing we had we had said that we would replace it a tree for a tree included in this submission. So just for the purposes of what was in the agenda, I just wanted to clarify that that was the case. Okay, cool. Okay, so then that said, we'll get back to that in a little bit. But first, just to address the nature of the application as an after-the-fact filing, we are going to first just discuss what was done and to just be very clear about that. And then I don't know if the commission wants to then first have a conversation about that before we move forward with the proposal, the mitigation plan and all that, or if the commission wants me to do everything and then we can talk about everything. I don't know.
It is rather extensive, and I do have some questions to begin with. This was proposed as a result of a violation.
Correct.
And when something is presented to us that's a result of a violation, we like that to be stated in the proposal, and I did not see that at all. So that it said it was in response to a violation. Maybe it was.
So the other thing is I was going to share my screen so that I could show what we submitted, because I made very clear what was done with before and after pictures and grading analysis. So I'm just wondering if that, I don't know, Alex, can you clarify?
Yeah, I think what Janet is referencing is outlining, just being upfront with that in the narrative in the beginning. You know, we have your cut analysis and all your pictures, but just being kind of upfront early on that, you know, this was in response to the unpermitted work that occurred.
And I would like to, I thought, you know, when we can get to that, when I share my screen, I can kind of explain to what I was getting at. in regards
Benjamin,
to
you
that
are
in the
ready to
narrative.
share.
Okay, great. Yeah, so no, that is absolutely our intention, is to start there and just have that conversation. And I was just kind of asking in terms of like the process, but we'll start there. And I will share my screen and get this narrative up.
All right, what I was
sorry,
trying to say, and I may not have been
Sure.
clear about it, and what Alex was
Yeah.
trying to say, I believe, is it is advisable to state right at the beginning of your narrative that this is
Okay.
being proposed as a result
Gotcha.
of a violation, and then to
Okay.
go forward from there.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
So Wayne has made it possible for you to share your screen.
Okay.
Are you able
I found
to?
the button. Share. Okay. Share. Okay. Can everybody see my screen now, or?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So this was our submission. This was just kind of okay. So let's just talk about what was done. So the report that was made to the town was the removal of some brush, and the applicants came before the commission last, I believe, about a year ago, and was informed that they needed to come back with a plot plan and mitigation plan. So that's where they reached out to me to help them put that together. We got a plot plan from Downkeep Engineering. And so basically I put together as much information as I could to corroborate what was said to have been performed. which was the removal of major thicket of vegetation that was to the west side of the property. And so I put together these before and after pictures, so you can kind of see this is the front of the property, but the significant work was happened on the west side of the property, where I'm moving my cursor right here. And so it appears that there are some pine trees and a few other natives, but it was also being choked out by a number of invasive species. So they needed a mitigation plan before they did this. So we're gonna, eventually talk about how we're going to resolve the environmental impacts. But just to be clear about that, that's what was done. And so here are some after pictures. So the entire section here was cleared, and is significant loss of topsoil, and just really in need of being restored after all of that work. In light of the loss of topsoil and native vegetation, the goal really was to remove the invasive species and to kind of replace it with native vegetation and to restore it. And so that just kind of explains what was done. So then moving around to the northern section of the property, you will see a 2 to 3 foot high berm that was constructed as a result of this work. So this was the reason why I provided you all with the grading analysis, because I really wanted to get a sense of cut versus fill so that we could have some kind of quantitative evidence of whether or not this came from outside, if it came from off-site, or if it came from on-site. And so the applicants are reporting that this came from on-site. This wasn't the introduction of any material from off-site, any kind of like contractor or anything. What they had done was scrape away a lot of topsoil, or a lot of soil that was underneath the deck, that was causing a lot of collection of stormwater runoff. And they were concerned about water collecting into the basement, particularly just because the grade was sloped towards the foundation of the house. And so they were merely trying to correct that so that the runoff was flowing away. And this was where they decided to put it, kind of creating this berm. The vegetable, the squash plants are all volunteers that kind of came from the nearby vegetable garden, just some dormant seed that resprouted in the berm. So there was no clear desire to have this berm. The intention was to prevent storm surge water from entering the property, but I have informed the applicants that actually will have a worse effect if you have a larger storm surge, that then the berm then traps the storm water. So they fully understand that at this point, and so the desire will be to remove this berm and bring it back to original grade. But just kind of explaining that, just so that that's totally clear about where this material came from, what the intention was, and we'll talk more about what we'll do about it. But just for the record, to have clarity on that. And so that's a good time to. Oh, and just really quickly, This is just the picture of the shed that they intend to remove because it's pretty dilapidated and it's very close to the wetland. And so this will be removed and will be replaced with native plantings. We'll get to that later. So anyways, kind of going back to the berm and transitioning to this grading analysis, I realize it's, it's a lot of colors and it's kind of complicated, but basically the cool colors of the rainbow are the fill, and the warm colors of the rainbow, the red, are where you see a significant cut. And so I just want to be clear, this was done on CAD, but I was overlaying two different plot plans with two different, contour intervals, different measurements. So it's not necessarily to be taken with super precision. However, it does, the intent was to kind of like paint a picture of the impacts in terms of grade. And so you'll see that there is kind of a high number in terms of the cut, so the loss in grade. And so this just kind of indicates the impact that such a wholesale removal of vegetation creates, that you will lose up to a foot in grade because all the volume that the roots of the plants take and then the loss of the topsoil. So you really will see a significant decrease in grade when you perform that kind of work. So this just kind of elucidates that, that idea. And then you can see where the colors that show fill, that shows you where the man-made berm is. And so it just kind of shows you like the overall idea there. So this is just got to kind of help us get an idea of what was conducted, and so that we can then move forward and talk about it, and talk about how we can rebuild that topsoil, revegetate, so that the area really, we take seriously the need for restoration of the work that was conducted. Other than that, in summary, this was clearing. This was a little bit of earth moving that led to environmental impacts, loss of topsoil, native vegetation. And as it stands now, there's that extremely exposed area that is just coming back to this picture, this exposed area that's vulnerable to invasive species. And then I will also add that this is a location for diamondback terrapin turtle nesting. And that just through a little bit of education, the applicants are, very sensitive to this at this point, understanding that they are threatened, and that restoring this into suitable habitat is very much a high goal. So we've had a lot of really good conversations, and I think they are very committed to turning over a better page on this, and serving the functions of the ecosystem and the town's bylaws and the state's laws. So I guess at this point, I will open it up to the commission for any questions regarding to existing conditions. I'll just quickly add that when I do start discussing the mitigation plan, I am basing footprint on before this work was conducted. So understanding that this area is being categorized as undisturbed area. So just when we propose disturbed area, we're basing it on before the work was conducted. So, but we'll I'll open it up to the commission for any questions about this.
I can't see the screen because of your sharing the screen. I can't see if anyone has.
Oh,
Any hands raised? Joanne?
Hi, yes, thank you. I'm curious about the constructed berm, how long it's been there and your assessment, you kind of, as you go into your mitigation plan, any details would be welcome, but what is if it's been there a while, are there any negative consequences associated with disturbing an area again? And are you perhaps going to, how will you minimize additional kind of detrimental impact on that area, considering that if there's been enough time for some squash plants to start growing, it may have settled in and is providing some sort of shelter or habitat at this point in time. Thank you.
Sure. I will answer that question about the impact of more disturbance, but I will let Lizette and Mike answer the question about how long it's been there first.
I would say probably from about May of last year. And then, we've had a few hearings that have been rescheduled with the commission, but we've been trying to address our violation and then what we would like to do to mitigate that and bring back, restore the area to its, native plants.
Yeah, I'm just I'm wondering, sometimes when you disturb an area and then you additionally disturb it more, you can have additional negative impacts. So Benjamin, I'm sure you're an expert in this area. I would just appreciate as many details as you can provide on kind of what the thinking is around. I suppose you can never return it back to the original, but what is it you do with it to minimize any additional damage? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And I am going to share my screen again. Just so, yeah, so for the record, here's the plot plan. And so, yeah, so yes, there's definitely something to be said for there's already a successional process happening after 16 months or whatever it was since May of 2023. But that being said, looking at this plot plan, so Zone AE of the flood of FEMA does actually intersect with part of the man-made berm right here. So the concern that I have is, especially with sea level rise and as this marsh gets more and more inundated and, the astronomical high tides get higher and higher, that this can result in kind of a water trap, which is not good structurally for the house, but also just that it could lead to kind of the integrity of the berm itself could be compromised, leading to sedimentation, and it's just kind of this not a really good topsoil. So and then the other conservation concern is going back to the diamondback terrapin, which needs easy access to kind of a landscape with a sandy profile for doing their nesting. And so there's kind of just a conservation deliverable of like kind of providing as much access for that. This backyard really is like I've been involved with the turtle gardens with the Audubon, and I would say this backyard is perfect for turtle nesting. And Mike and Lizette have actually told me that they have seen turtle nesting happening. And so, yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. So those were the two things that I would say that, 16 months isn't a too long of a time, but with the mitigation plan, the idea of restoring it back to original grade means that we can replace it with mitigation plantings for a little bit better, water recharge, filtration, and access for the diamondback terrapin. So that's kind of my assessment. And when we get into the mitigation plan, I'll kind of speak to the idea that ultimately the idea is to get this whole area like where we don't really touch it. We kind of let it become naturalized and just, doing whatever maintenance is needed to preserve it. But generally it's, just turn it into a very naturalized space that doesn't get touched. So, um, and I'll stop my share again.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. It sounds like, to summarize kind of what you said, it sounds like the high value benefit here is definitely diamondback terrapins, nesting, and that, in addition, and the humans benefit from less of a flood hazard, and so that it makes sense in the balance to remove, at least so that it's a level grade to remove that berm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think- Yeah.
I'd like to go back to what I said earlier, that we need to have a clear statement at the beginning of the filing that this is in response to a violation. We probably shouldn't have jumped in with an NOI right away until we dealt with that. But anyway, that has happened.
Actually, so I just need to share my screen just so that we're all on the same page here. So the very first page of my submission is a cover letter. That the very first sentence, thank you for considering this after the fact notice of intent application, followed by in background considerations, that the applicants hired me to provide information of work that was conducted. So I mean, I'm not really understanding how more clear I can be about that.
It's not just an after the fact, it was a violation. There are after the fact filings that do occur, that have occurred, but there are no violations. There were several violations at this site. And we also requested a land plan that would show the extent of the unpermitted clearing, and I don't see that.
Yeah. Um,
You do have some plans, but there's not a plan that shows the extent of the unpermitted clearing.
so this is the plan, and in this dotted line is the extent of the clearing.
But there was, okay,
And then this is corroborated by the picture here. And so we then have this picture showing that there was no clearing in the backyard. And this picture showing there was no clearing in the east portion of the yard.
but there was
And
clearing in the front.
and
Those large cedar trees, for one, are no
and
longer
there's
there.
right, and so that was permitted by an administrative review that was issued in March. So that's why I brought that up in the very beginning, because I wanted to clarify that the result of that hearing was that we would include in our mitigation plan for this submission that we would replace those 4 trees 1 to 1. And so the
Could you-
mitigation plan is reflective of that.
Would you go back to that plan where you said the heavy line outlined?
Yes.
All right, so is there
So you can,
anywhere
oh,
where it
sorry.
states that?
Okay, I see what you're saying. The label might have somehow gone missing. So, could I just, could we make it a condition that I submit this to Alex? So just so that it's on the record. I don't know, that I was just thinking, so this, is the extent of the clearing. You could see the existing tree line of the plot plan, and it pretty much encompassed the entire western portion of the property. And I can definitely send Alex another copy of this that notates that.
That would fulfill that request. I still think we need to have some sort of correction or addition at the beginning of the filing to clearly state that this was it's not just after the fact, there are violations. And that has to be clearly stated.
Okay. Understood.
And then there are some other questions and concerns. I know that Alex had. Do you want to state some of those, Alex? I know one thing we were very pleased about is you removing the concrete driveway and replacing it with a pervious, the concrete on the driveway, and replacing it with a pervious area. And that would decrease the impervious square footage. So that certainly is a positive. All right, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. With any regrading, is there going to be any fill being brought to the property, or are you going to be working with what's already on site?
No, actually, could I, before we go into the plan, could I actually just kind of summarize it really quick, just so that, because there's just some bullet points that I want to get through.
Sure.
That might answer people's questions before, but I just want to make sure we're done talking about what was done. That just make sure all of that was clear first. So should I, I'll just go right into the plan. Okay. So I will get back into the driveway and talk about the issues of material and grade. I'll just quickly answer, no, we're not going to bring any new fill onto the property. But that kind of leads into, did you want to continue asking a question before I continue, Alex?
You can continue. Perhaps you'll answer some of my questions.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I'll save it for the end. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be really quick. It's not just kind of summarizing. But that gets into the concept of the layer of topsoil really does need to be restored. There are a lot of strategies that I laid out in the management plan that kind of charts a path towards that. But first and foremost, yes, removing the berm is an opportunity to then redistribute that material upslope and kind of spread it out so that we have kind of like a nice base layer of topsoil. I mean, it's not amazing soil, but it is dirt. So, kind of getting that soil building process started, and just kind of distributing it around as we prepare the site for some of the other features like the patio and the shed. So really the main goal was to really satisfy the interests of the commission in terms of reducing area of disturbance in the 50-foot filter strip. And so we satisfy that first by removing the shed, which is really way too close to the wetland, and is in bad shape. And trying to locate an area for a new shed that's further away from the wetland as far outside. Really, the goal was to make it completely outside of the 50-foot filter strip, but with the constraints of property setbacks, we did what we could, and so the kind of the other aspect of that is, again, we're when we compare area of disturbance, I'm going to share my screen again here, to just bearing in mind that, again, where that dotted line is, we are assuming, or not assuming, that we're categorizing that as undisturbed area. So to just, for the record, be clear that when I'm comparing existing and proposed area of disturbance, I'm basing it on that. So what that leads to is about, I think I said 90 square feet of new lawn, or I'm sorry, yeah, I think so. And so we're balancing that out by removing this portion of the lawn. So basically right up against the deck where my cursor is, that is currently lawn. So we are basically doing 1-to-1. And again, that kind of gets into what we were talking about before, is the disturbance going to be bad? But the idea is that as close to the wetland as possible, we're going to be putting a lot of the beach grass and other vegetation that's suitable for this bank. But at the same time, just needing, a way to have some access and circulation around the house, and being able to get around, so just having a little bit of lawn there, but replacing the lawn that we don't need with beach grass. So just kind of like explaining how we came to ultimately reducing the area of disturbance in the 50-foot filter strip by 48 square feet. Not very much, but it's better than 0. And then I will note that there is a slight increase of disturbance in the 100-foot buffer, but again, that's including the replacement of the concrete driveway with the stone. I'm including that in area of disturbance. So just being clear, this is the overall effort is to reduce the footprint.
And where are you going to put the new shed?
Okay, yes, we can go into that. So the new shed is proposed to the west of the property. And I'll get into where we came up with that location in a bit, but first I'll just show you visually on the picture where that would be. Actually, it's not where these bricks are, but it's kind of in this area. That will not require any clearing, any more clearing than was already conducted. It's already cleared where that is. And we will install a 10-foot, or I think 8-foot by 12-foot drainage stone underneath it, so that there's plenty of runoff that can filter underneath the shed. So it's a very modestly sized shed, just 6 feet by 10 feet. And going back to the mitigation. So yeah, and so again, the goal was to site this shed completely outside of the 50-foot filter strip. But we were then constrained by the setbacks from the road and from the abutters. And so, you'll see that there's like this tiny portion of the shed that bumps into the filter strip, in addition to a tiny sliver of the proposed patio. Um, and so that's why we made a point to propose an overall net reduction in area disturbance, to kind of work with those constraints. And so yeah, um, does that help?
Yes, so Alex, did you have any other comments?
Not at this point.
Okay, I also then wanted to discuss the outdoor shower. Um, so we're well aware that of the impacts with nutrient loading into the resource area when we have an outdoor shower close. So we're proposing to locate a shower within the footprint of the deck, so not to create any new footprint, and have it drain beneath the deck. And so still it's pretty close to the resource. And so I don't know the commission's experience with this kind of thing, but there is, studies showing that when you have kind of like a 2 foot deep layer of, sterile, seedless, very clean wood chips underneath where the drainage of an outdoor shower, where there's soap and cleaning off sandy feet or whatever, these wood chips then filter out those nutrients and kind of hold on to it. So that's kind of the mitigation we're proposing for that. And so that we're not making any bigger footprint for that, but it'd be very desirable to have a location to kind of rinse off from the beach. So
I
and
see that
go ahead.
Excuse me, I see that one of the commissioners has a question or comment, Mike?
Couple things. The berm is right up against the marsh. What's your proposal to remove the berm? How do you plan on doing that?
Good question. We'll be doing a front end loader or a bobcat for moving the material of the dirt. Also that, while doing site preparation for the patio and the shed, and just kind of spreading and distributing the material. And, so for protocol, we have the limit of work delineated, ensuring that any work is done outside of the resource area, and very carefully. We are, it's not official yet, but we are going with Earthworm Landscaping to conduct the work, who has extensive experience working in wetland permitted projects. And so he's very sensitive to the conditions, and it really the extent of the seaward extent of the berm does correspond with where the wetlands were delineated, as the plan shows. So it really is just a matter of just like very tenderly, moving the big portion of the dirt. And then once we've done that, very tenderly kind of where it's close to the wetland, kind of scraping it up and then kind of making the slope tapered out, where we will then put new plantings.
So I assume they're experienced in this. I was just wondering if there was somehow I don't know, the operators, so somehow it would be delineated that they shouldn't run the front end loader further than, or into the go side, somehow you could limit how far they could go. with the loader?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. No, so where the limit of work is delineated, we'll have some silt fencing installed prior to any work, and we'll show Alex, of course, in our pre-construction meeting and everything. So, yeah.
Okay, and another question, this may have already been dealt with, but this shed, was this the shed that had some spilled material in it? And we were concerned about a possible, was this the one?
I think so.
Did
Yeah.
anybody-
Yes, and yeah, and if need be, we can look at the minutes of that hearing that we had a discussion where we clarified that there seemed to have been some kind of a misunderstanding because there wasn't any kind of paint spillage that when they so essentially the applicants when they came before the commission last fall um, they expressed interest in removing the shed, and that the reason why was because since they had recently purchased the property, there was cans of paint inside, and they were just they wanted to get rid of everything that was inside and everything, get rid of the shed, and there was a concern that paint could spill, and they were just expressing their concern, and I think it got lost in translation because there was no there was no paint spillage, but we did have a discussion where we clarified that there was no need to file the form that we needed for that because there was no actual spill, just a concern.
Okay,
So
and the wood chips over at the shower, is that a maintenance? They'll have to replace those every
yeah,
something? I guess that's not a big.
yeah, and no, that's a really good question actually, because it will need maintenance, and I'll get into this in a little bit, because I still have a couple bullet points to get through. But in the plan, we are, we are proposing to submit annual monitoring reports over the course of the order of conditions. Or whatever suits Alex. I would assume every December or something. We just kind of submit an update on, okay, this is what we've done, this is the status of things, and so in that report we might write something like, oh, okay, so there's a lot of weeds growing underneath the outdoor shower, so we're going to add a little bit more wood chips and we'll inform Alex, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that can very committed to staying in touch about that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Did you say you had a couple of other points you wanted to?
Yeah. Yeah, so just kind of getting into mitigation, I just wanted to say for the record, we also are understanding of time of year restrictions for turtle nesting. So we included that in the plan, I believe, but just we're gonna make sure we're not doing work during that. Not that right now we have plenty of time before then. So, but just for the record, and actually, this is kind of a good segue into the monitoring reports. So essentially, it's just with all the plantings, we just kind of a chance to keep in touch with the commission. Just yeah, on paper every year, making sure in the case that something dies, say that we need to replace a plant that died or something, anything like that. And then the other kind of point is just kind of ongoing conditions. And again, the ongoing, just in terms of just regular maintenance, pruning and that kind of stuff, to just kind of have some of those things in perpetuity pending informing the department prior to work. But to just have the ability to just kind of do basic maintenance while informing the department and also continuing to present monitoring reports, just to kind of streamline it a little bit. But just wanted to bring that up. And I believe, oh, and one last thing. We are also proposing, it's not, no, it's kind of shaded in here along the road, but I do mention it in the narrative, request for kind of extending the stone, the um, driveway stone or shells or whatever that we're doing, to extend it along the road so that there's like a little bit of a parking space. So understanding that this section is on town property, um, just to just basically, I mean, I've never encountered this, but maybe, I don't know if we need to request permission from the commission, pending approval of the DPW, and if they require that, or whatever that however that works. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I'm not sure how that works. Alex, do you have any idea?
I think that would be a case where it'd be conditioned pending the approval of the DPW. But this, this may require a curb cut permit. But I'm not too familiar with the specifics. But from our end, we could condition that pending DPW approval. I think that's probably the best way forward.
Coming back to some things that I said earlier, I know that you have appeared before the commission more than once. I am a little reluctant to continue this, but I want to make sure that the other commissioners agree. I would like a restatement that includes the violation up front. I would like a note on that map to identify the cleared area. And I would like the Felco land plan that was mentioned in the narrative. So those are my thoughts. How about other commissioners? Chuck or Mike or Joanne, any thoughts from you?
You covered it for me, from my end, Janet, so I'm good.
Thank you.
Two.
Chuck, I know sometimes you have comments about an outdoor shower and having some sort of drainage. Do you have comments about this?
I will. I like to see them going into a dry well. I've been trying to take it all in. The real problem is that there's not a lot of space to work with, right? And in an ordinary project, there's more room to work, more room to move fill around, do grading. And, I'm even worried if you take that berm out, is it gonna accelerate the erosion on the backside of the house? I don't know. This project has had me a little confused, I guess, for a long time.
Well,
but
we
yes,
don't know what will happen. You're correct.
my preference is for any outdoor water source that's going to drain to go down into a dry well and make sure that it gets down into the substrate. They're pretty close to the water table anyway. And you don't want water just sitting around in a yard in a place this small and have mosquitoes all over the place.
So,
Can
Mr.
respond
Frank, would
to
that
that.
be all acceptable to you and the homeowners to have a dry well under the new proposed outdoor shower?
I love installing dry wells. It's a very effective way for runoff management. And Chuck, you mentioned, it's pretty close to the water table anyways, but at least you're kind of directing it to where you want it to go. And just, responding to your concern about removing the berm, just we actually are pretty well timed to just go ahead and throw the beach grass in there. the culms of beach grass, 2 every square foot, to really get that process started. There's no knowing if there's some huge storm event that, scours that out, but better to at least get that started, getting a root system going, getting the erosion control. We could also make it a condition, something else that we can provide, where we lay down, either coconut core or the hay erosion control mat. We can just put, a strip of erosion control mat down as well, for kind of like a temporary mitigation.
Yeah.
That could be a good way.
I agree. I think that's probably as good a process as any. I haven't seen evidence of a lot of wave action erosion along that bank. There's a lot of the banks where we act like they're all going to fall over tomorrow. There's not much of a bank, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of erosion there. But what I don't know is if they get what we get where I am. We're on the southwest corner of a big marsh, and they're on the south edge of the open area here. And do they get sea ice in there that far? Is what I was thinking about, really, because when it abrades against the side of the bank, it digs it right out.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be that it would drown before it even gets there, so maybe it's not a concern. I like the idea of the coconut fiber mat. That way, if something happens and the grass doesn't quite take the way you want, you still got a record there.
We and then there's, also the silt fencing, we would be putting in during construction. And we might even, like, a lot of times I like to put the biodegradable wattle down,
Yep.
the filter sock filled with seedless straw, chopped straw, hay, or whatever, just because that's a pretty effective, if there's ever some huge runoff event, it's actually very effective in just trapping that sand and keeping it from going any further. So we definitely provide those kinds of tools.
Pulling a driveway out is probably the most effective thing that's being done in this project to make sure that if there is a big runoff of it, I mean, things will run off, but anything that ponds will go down into the ground instead of running over the bank as a little rivulets and things, and that's critical. So I think, I don't know. Like I said, this has got me confused, but in general, I support what you're doing.
Are there any other comments from the other commissioners? Alex?
Let me look at I think we covered most of the questions I had.
So do the other commissioners agree with the several conditions that we have stated so that we don't have to continue this?
Yes, I agree.
And you're in agreement, Mr. Fairbanks, and the owners, and Alex, it's a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah, can we, I mean, I've been taking notes here. Can we run through those conditions one more time?
Yes.
I can do that, so it's like more of a reciprocation, if that works. Yeah, so what you want is you wanted us to provide the Felco plan, that was mentioned in the narrative, and then just notate the work that on the plan that shows what the work was conducted, the grading plan. You want us to notate where that dotted line where the work was conducted.
Yeah, the
and then also
unpermitted clearing.
the unpermitted clearing. And then you would also like a revision of our statement, in that it is a violation, in violation, not just after the fact. So my question for that is, do you just need a revision of like the cover letter? Or
It has to be in the
both?
statement of the proposal as well.
Okay.
And I'm volunteering Alex, but I want to make sure with him. Alex, would you be able to work with them to make sure that that's done
Yeah.
correctly?
Yes, I can do that.
Joanne, you had a statement? Did,
No,
No?
I think we're good. I'm good.
all right. All right. Mr. Fairbank, you want to continue? I interrupted you.
I'm done.
Oh.
Yep.
You were going to put in a dry well for the new shower, the new outdoor shower?
Right, and also the dry well, yep.
And then there are the other conditions that are normally attached to single-family homes like this that Alex would attach to the statement. Am I forgetting anything? We think we're good? So could someone then make a motion which would include those stated conditions as well as the normal ones that would be
So
appropriate?
moved.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Joanne. Mike,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So,
Okay, thank you. I will,
Yes.
Alex, I will reach out to Alex, and get these new materials to him. And just, yeah, work with him. No,
all right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to the homeowners for appearing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For
Thank you all for having
working with
patience
us
with
through
us.
this.
Yes, and thank you all for having patience with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, well, the patience has gone in both directions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that brings us to, are there any violations that we should be aware of, Alex?
No new violations for this agenda.
Oh, good. All right, any liaison reports? I have one. For the Community Preservation Act Committee, we finally have submittals that came in under the 4 p.m. October 30th deadline. There are 8 proposals. One for the renovation of the thrift shop building on Massasoit. One to help with a minor, well, I shouldn't say that, with a $50,000 grant to help with a construction of a building for capabilities. One for Eastham Elementary. One for the kiosks, which we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. One for historic properties survey. And one for the Lower Cape Housing Institute. One for the Deacon Payne Home for open space, which we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. And then one for the salary for an administrative assistant who has been an incredible help to the committee this year. She's sort of the Amy of the CPAC. Does anyone have any other liaison reports? And I don't have anything about education and training updates. Does anyone else? I haven't been keeping updated on them very well. Alex.
Tomorrow I'm going to the vineyard with the Department of Conservation and Recreation for some site visits to discuss southern pine beetle
Uh,
on
Can
the
you
island.
repeat that? I didn't hear you clearly. I'm sorry.
Or I'm going to the vineyard with the Department of Conservation and Recreation to do some site visits to look at some southern pine beetle damage on the island.
You're going to Martha's Vineyard?
Yes.
That's not fair.
And so this
But
is an
don't you need to
invasive,
take people with you?
right? So this is an invasive beetle that's slowly progressing further north as climate warms, and it's on the vineyard. They expect it to be on the Cape within short order. So this is my kind of first introduction to this invasive species and what the potential impacts could be, I guess, for us in Eastham going forward.
Well, I hope you enjoy your day tomorrow. I hope it's not as blustery as it was today.
Well, I think tomorrow is going to be a blustery and cold day as well, but I'll dress warm.
Okay. So we have minutes from September 21st, 24th, and October 8th. Are there any corrections or comments on either of those meetings? Is there a motion to approve them?
Move that we approve.
Second,
Thank you. Chuck,
Yes?
Mike,
yes,
Joanne,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So the minutes for September 24th and October 8th, 2004 have been approved. Under other discussion, the Open Space Committee and the Eastham Conservation Foundation have submitted a request for us to send a letter supporting their requests. Did everyone have a chance to read these over? The Open Space Committee wants to put up 2 kiosks in Wiley Park. And the funding of about $11,000 would come from the Community Preservation Act Committee. And these look to be very attractive. They're sort of duplicating the kiosk that is in that garden area where you have your garden, Alex.
That's right. So this is a kiosk
Yep.
design that the town of Orleans uses for their open space properties. And it's a great way to present information to the public. I know our trailheads can get kind of cluttered with signage at times. So the 2 locations that are being proposed in this application at the entrance trailhead of Wiley Park, and then the entrance along Herring Brook to the Nickerson property. It'll be a clean way for the town to present, information to people using the property, and it's a very heavily trafficked property. So this would be, I think, certainly a beneficial project to support. There was talk about this being somewhat of a pilot, and if this works well in Wiley Park, perhaps in the future, the Open Space Committee will consider using the kiosks at other properties as well.
So they would like a letter from us to show or indicate that we support this proposal.
Correct.
Does anyone have an objection to that? Everyone is fine with it? So does Amy write this up for us? Or does Alex write it up?
I believe Alex can write that up.
Okay.
Alex,
Should I
I
put my
hope
hand
you're
up?
lifting weights to make your shoulders
I
strong.
know.
I can write it up and Alex can approve it if you don't mind. I can try.
Sounds good to me.
Would you
Okay.
mind, Amy?
No, I don't mind, Alex.
Okay.
Of
Oh,
course, if
Amy,
you were
thank
taking me
you.
to Martha's Vineyard, I'd probably do it all together.
And the Eastham Conservation Foundation is hoping for a letter indicating our support for acquiring a piece of property that is not built on, adjacent to some town land. And the purpose, they have been given a price to purchase that is lower than the appraised value of the property. They're hoping to receive, I believe it's about $50,000 from the Community Preservation Act Committee. And they would like us to also have show a letter of support toward that. And personally, I'm in favor of conserving land that's not built on. It doesn't take anything away from anyone, I don't think, and it adds. Does anyone have a thought or comment or more about that? You're frowning. I'm sorry. So are we all in agreement then? We can write another letter, or Amy and Alex can write another letter? Okay, Amy?
Yep.
All right.
Okay. I'll write that one too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
It
you're
doesn't have
welcome.
to go on for pages and pages, it can be
Oh.
rather brief.
All righty. I'll send it to you, Janet. You can proofread it for me.
Okay. All right. We were also supposed to review the updated pressure-treated bylaw, but I don't think it's a judgment call on my part. I don't think it's appropriate to review this without the two other members of our committee. This is something we've had so much discussion about and so much controversy at times. I think we should have Greg and Karen present when we discuss it. Is that all right with everyone?
Can I ask, are we running up against any sort of deadlines for it to go to any other committees or somebody in the town, or is it on our own timeline?
I think it's our own timeline.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I think it would be nice to have this. I think we're pretty close to finalizing this, but it'd be nice kind of, I guess, for us, perhaps, to check this off, by the end of the year, I think would be a nice goal to have. So if we continue this until the next meeting, I don't foresee that being an issue. And Janet's right. I think it's a conversation that, we should certainly have Karen and Greg with us to have.
All right. Mike, you agree? Joanne, you agree?
Yes.
Chuck, you agree?
Yes, but, and the but is, I think we're going about it the wrong way. We've had 3 conversations with the town attorney. He keeps warning us that we're bumping up against the building code. And I think we're just going about it the wrong way. We keep talking about pressure treated wood, and that isn't what we're actually worried about. What we're worried about is any products that put any toxic material that has longevity into the soil and potentially into the groundwater. And if we attack it from that direction instead of just the pressure treated wood, then it's broader, and I think gets us away from constant conflict with the building code. So yeah, I think we should have that conversation, but I also think it's worth stepping back and taking a look at what it is we're actually trying to do.
Well, that's a good idea. We can work on that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? You don't really want to end the meeting now, do you?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a yes.
Who's gonna make the motion?
I'll make the,
All right.
Oh, wait,
I'll
just
make
add
the motion.
something.
Oh, wait, Alex, what? Oh, I didn't say any other topics the chair did not reasonably anticipate at the time of this meeting. Is that,
Well,
I was supposed to say that?
well, that's not what was on my mind, but
Oh.
I just wanted to mention to the commission, I should have said this early on, but we decided to include a section on the agenda at the very top for public comment. And looking at the agenda, let's see.
We did have that on this one.
Yeah, so we want, I guess it's, I found, and you probably noticed it too, that some people will wait the entire meeting just to say some public comment to the commission. Instead of having them wait the entire meeting, I felt like it was appropriate that perhaps we have a section at the very beginning for public comment on items that aren't on the agenda.
And I just read it. I didn't ask if there were any public comments.
Yeah, like I should have mentioned something beforehand, so that's okay.
All right. Well, next time. So is there anything else?
That's all.
All right. Well, let's see. Mike voted for adjournment. And who was second?
I'll second if no one else did.
Chuck is seconding.
I'll third it.
All right, I'll fourth it. Mike,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.